Welcome everyone, I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today I'm going to take you through a workout we did with one of my clients, Chris, who came to me with the goal of mastering the back lever. The back lever is one of the most rewarding and challenging feats in the world of calisthenics. It's a skill that requires control, strength and precision. But what happens when you've been away from training for a while and everything feels off? That was the situation Chris found himself in. He came to me with the single, clear goal, mastering the back lever. However, things weren't just going to be as straightforward as just diving into skill work. Chris wasn't a complete beginner. He had a solid foundation in bodyweight training and was fairly strong. However, after a break from training due to some injuries and personal life issues, he quickly realized his body had lost some of its coordination and endurance. Movements that once felt smooth and fluid now felt stiff and awkward. This is completely normal, and it happens to everyone, no matter how experienced you are. You step away and your body needs to relearn the rhythm, the timing and the muscle memory. But here is the key. That's not an excuse to give up. The path to progress is simple. Get back to it, rebuild the rhythm and keep moving forward. And Chris was determined to do just that. Before we could even think about attempting the back lever, we had to return to the basics and build a strong foundation. The back lever is not a simple skill that you can muscle through. It requires a deep level of control, strength and precision. The key to mastering the back lever is having the right foundation in place. If the foundation isn't strong enough, the whole structure, the back lever attempt, will collapse. So we first needed to re-establish his strength and control. We started with 4 key tests to assess Chris's current abilities. These tests would help us pinpoint where his weaknesses were and how to move forward. The first test we did was the active hang. This is a simple but highly effective test to see if Chris could control his body weight while hanging from a bar. The back lever is a pulling movement, and it requires you to hold your body in an inverted position, so mastering control in the active hang is a prerequisite. Chris was able to hold a solid 20-second active hang with proper scapular engagement and shoulder control, which showed that his upper body strength and endurance were in a good place. The second test we moved on to was controlled pull-ups. This wasn't just about doing as many pull-ups as possible, it was about executing them with control and engaging the right muscles. The back lever requires strong pulling strength, but more importantly, it requires you to control your body as you pull and hold. Chris was able to complete 10 clean, controlled pull-ups, which was an excellent sign that his pulling strength was on point. Next, we tested his core strength with knee raises. Chris had to perform 15 controlled knee raises to shoulder level. This movement is a great test of whether the core is ready to support the back lever. A strong, engaged core is vital for transitioning into and holding a back lever. Chris passed this test with ease, demonstrating solid core strength. The final test was the hanging L sit. This movement requires serious core engagement and stability. If your core isn't tight and controlled here, it's a major red flag for your back lever progress. Chris held his L sit with ease for over 10 seconds, which showed that his core control was strong and ready for more advanced progressions. With the basics firmly in place, we were now ready to start focusing on the skill work required for the back lever. But the back lever isn't just a skill you can rush into right away. We had to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps. The first skill we worked on was the skin the cat, a fundamental calisthenics movement that helps build the body awareness and control needed for the back lever. Skin the cat teaches you how to move through the awkward upside down space, and more importantly, it builds the shoulder mobility and stability required for the back lever. I demonstrated skin the cat, breaking it down into clear steps. First, you pull through the hang, making sure to keep your shoulders active and engaged. As you rotate backward, you tuck your knees and move slowly, never letting gravity do the work. This movement should be controlled, with tension in the core throughout. Chris's first attempt, he got stuck halfway. And that's completely normal. Skin the cat requires a significant adjustment in body positioning, and the movement feels unfamiliar. We didn't rush it. After a few more attempts and some adjustments to the body position, Chris was able to move through the full range of motion. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and that's all that matters. Once Chris became comfortable with Skin the Cat, we moved on to the tucked back lever hold, which is where the real work began. In the tucked position, you bring your knees to your chest, making it easier to hold the position while learning to engage the necessary muscles. The key to this hold is maintaining tightness in your whole body. This means keeping the scapula engaged to protect the shoulders, slightly rounding the back to engage the entire posterior chain, and keeping your legs tightly tucked. A tighter tuck lowers your center of gravity, which makes it easier to balance. Chris was able to pull into the tucked back lever position, but he could only hold for a few seconds before dropping. His muscles were fatigued, his arms were shaking, and his body was still figuring out how to adjust. But what he was experiencing wasn't failure. It was awareness. The difference between raw strength and control lies in awareness. Being able to identify where your body is tight, where it's loose, and how to adjust accordingly. Without this awareness, your body won't be able to sustain the position, and that's where progress happens. After getting a feel for the tucked back lever hold, we moved on to the next progression, tucked back lever kicks. This progression forces you to learn how to extend your legs without losing form or control. It's easy to want to rush through these, but the key to success is moving slowly and deliberately. I demonstrated the movement, showing Chris how to extend one leg at a time while maintaining core tension. The goal was to keep the movement smooth and controlled. No rushing, no swinging. At first, Chris's kicks were a little sloppy. His core wasn't fully engaged, his hips sucked, and his movements were too fast. This is completely normal when you are first learning, but Chris wasn't discouraged. He reset, refocused, and by the end of the session, his form had already started to clean up. This was proof that control is the key to mastery. Once you refine your movements and engage the correct muscles, you see more consistency and smoother technique. Next, we worked on the single leg back lever. This variation of the back lever requires you to extend one leg while keeping the other tucked. This is an important step because it forces you to engage different muscles and control your body in a more dynamic way. It also builds more strength and endurance, and the muscles involved in the movement must be even more active. Chris struggled at first. His form was wobbly and he had a hard time keeping his body in the right position. But over time, as he focused on maintaining tension in the glutes, hamstrings and core, his control improved. The single leg back lever is an important milestone. It's a glimpse into what the full back lever will feel like, but it also highlights that there is still more work to do. To further build strength and control, we incorporated inverted back lever negatives. This is where the real strength is tested. To perform this movement, you start in an inverted hang and slowly lower yourself into the back lever, resisting gravity the whole way down. The key here is to maintain full control over your descent, stopping just before you collapse. Each rep wasn't perfect, but with every attempt, Chris built more strength, more control, and more confidence in his ability to execute the movement. Finally, we reached the moment Chris had been working toward, his first full back lever attempt. With a little assistance from me, Chris managed to get into the position, though his legs weren't fully straight and his form wasn't perfect. But for a brief moment, he held the position, and that was a huge win. It wasn't about perfection, it was about progress. That moment was a testament to how far Chris had come in his journey. So, what's next for Chris? Now that we've laid the foundation, built strength, control and awareness, his training plan will include full body calisthenics 3 times per week. The essentials, pull-ups, dips, push-ups, rows and squats will remain the focus. The fundamentals never change. He'll continue to work on core strength, isometric holds and refining his body control, because that's what will ultimately support his skill progress. Here is the initial plan we structured. Chris is mainly focusing on developing his upper body in calisthenics, because he also plays football semi-professionally, where the lower body is heavily targeted. So, we are not going to put too much stress on the legs to allow him to progress well in both directions. Here is the real lesson. Don't rush the process. Chris could have jumped right into skill work, but we decided to slow it down, revisit the basics and master the fundamentals. Why? Because body control and strength are the foundation of every advanced skill. Without a solid foundation, jumping into skill work can lead to bad habits, which only slows progress in the long run. Mastery doesn't come overnight. It takes time, patience, consistency, and the ability to embrace the basics. Strength and skill are built from the ground up. So, if you're chasing the back lever or any other skill, remember this. Focus on mastering control, build your strength, master the fundamentals, and when the time is right, the advanced skills will come. The journey isn't about talent, it's about showing up, putting in the work and trusting the process. Keep going, the back lever will be waiting for you when you've earned it. If you enjoyed the video, share it with someone who needs to see this inspiring journey. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'll see you in the next session.